Does anybody have sound?
They knew they would die, but they rose anyway. We mark this day because it teaches us that memory must come with action. So let our candles tonight not flicker gently in the dark. Let them blaze. Let them illuminate truth. Let them burn through the fog of denial, distortion, and indifference. We remember Zachor, Ba'al Tishkach. We never forget. We rise. Raise the flag.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly you hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous sights, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. The bombs bursting, giving through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave for the land and the home of the
May be seated.
My son visited Poland a few weeks ago. As he stood in Auschwitz in front of the ovens, where over 1 million Jews were murdered, his friend standing alongside him weeping received this letter from his friend, a lieutenant colonel in the Israel Air Force. As you stand in Auschwitz, at the heart of the darkest chapter in our people's history, know that you are not alone. We who guard Israel and its people stand with you in spirit and in purpose. You walk along the remnants of a nightmare, bearing witness to the echoes of those who could not defend themselves. But today, you do not walk as they once did, defenseless and abandoned. You walk with the strength of a people who have risen from the ashes, who have reclaimed their destiny, and who now stand watch over their future. Our Air Force carries not only the mission of defending our homeland, but also the unbreakable promise that echoes through the generations. Never again. We will remember those who perished, and we bear the responsibility to ensure that history does not repeat itself. Your presence at Auschwitz is a testament to resilience, a bridge between past and future. You remind the world that we remember, we honor, and that we will never allow darkness to take hold again. From the skies above our homeland, we watch, we protect, and we stand ready so that our people will never again be defenseless. On behalf of the men and women of the Israel Air Force, we send you our strength, our solidarity, and our unwavering commitment. No matter where you are in the world, you will never be alone, as you are part of our family. With respect and solidarity, Lieutenant Colonel, Israel's Air Force, please rise and join the cantor in Israel's anthem, Hatikva.
Nefesh Yehudi Homiya Ufalatei Mizrach Adima Ma'in Letzion Homiya Yerushalayim Liotam Koshi Le'arzeinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim.
Good evening. I'm honored tonight to have the opportunity to welcome two young women who have led the fight to combat anti-Semitism in hopes of inspiring others to join them in standing up against hate in all of its various forms. Kate and Lauren are juniors at our Southside High School, whose goal is to raise awareness about anti-Semitism within our community. Their efforts have been recognized by organizations in Boston, Rochester, Florida, along with many of our own elected officials. And today they join us in our Yom HaShoah program. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Kate Gupta and Lauren Ferazani.
Thank you so much for having here tonight. I'm Kate Gupta.
And I'm Lauren Ferazani.
So we are juniors at Southside High School, and we are also vice presidents of our DECA chapter. DECA is a club for emerging entrepreneurs and students who are focused on learning like principles of business and for people who are interested in pursuing business in the future. So this year we engaged in a community awareness project through DECA, and we decided to work with the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism with our project. So the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism, also known as FCAS, was founded by Patriots owner Robert Kraft in 2019. It was founded following an insurgence of online hate and anti-Semitism. The foundation tracks digital metrics and such as like hateful phrases and buzzwords, and uses real-time fact checkers to help combat this hate and prevent ignorance and misinformation.
In 2023, me and my family took a trip to Dachau, and it was the most eye-opening experience of my life. Being able to see just how, like, the placement of Dachau and how it was in the middle of a village. There were people all around that either turned a blind eye and didn't want to speak out against what was happening, or were too scared to speak out or stand against or help any of the people that were suffering within that. And that was a large portion of why me and Kate wanted to work with the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism. We wanted to definitely display the message that the truth has to be told and people can't just continue turning a blind eye to what is going on around them.
Yes, so in addition to Lauren's, eye-opening experience visiting Dachau, we had the privilege of being able to go to the FCAS Command Center in the fall of 2023. We were at a Patriots game and we were able to go into the center of the foundation and see what they call the wall, which is a live feed of all the hateful phrases and buzzwords that they see online. After just seeing the sheer amount of disgusting vocabulary that was being posted every single second on every platform, whether it was YouTube or Twitter or TikTok. We were horrified. Like, as high school students, we have definitely been exposed to a lot of like ignorance amongst our peers in every facet of discrimination, but seeing the sheer numbers online was really eye-opening. And we know, like, as members of Generation Z, teenagers are very easily influenced, especially by information that we see online. There's little basis to back a lot of things posted, and when you just kind of come across this information or misinformation organically, it's very easy to just like permeate into your own viewpoints. People don't realize that they are being ignorant, anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic, etc. But as they just kind of see these microaggressions constantly, it can kind of infiltrate their own viewpoints, like subconsciously. So we knew we had to take a stance against this.
Over the course of our project, we had to host 3 events. And for our third and final event, we knew we definitely wanted to target our peers and people within our school. So in 5th grade or 4th grade, we were able to speak and hear the testimony of Miss Marian Lazan, who's a Holocaust survivor. Her speech was definitely tailored to fit her audience at the time. So when we were in elementary school, her speech was definitely very eye-opening, but in a different way than how she communicates it with her older audiences. So our 10th and 12th graders are currently learning about the Holocaust and information surrounding that within their global and history classes. So we decided to target the 10th and 12th graders to come and hear testimony of Miss Marian Lazan's experience in the concentration camps.
Yes, so we had originally intended for this event to be held at night, but after our school social studies department caught wind of it, they asked if we'd be able to hold it during the school day and create it so it would be mandatory for 10th and 12th graders to attend. So this in itself was already an incredible step towards just like fighting misinformation and ignorance amongst our peers. We were very excited that the school was able to take this step. So through that, we were able to have 600 attendees, which is over half of our high school student body. So it was just great. Marian, although she's 92 years old, is more lively than any of us ever could be. It was truly incredible. And there was not a dry eye in the room. Like, her testimony and just the way she portrays her emotions and her story was just, it made the Holocaust very tangible for a lot of people, because we've read books like Night by Elie Wiesel in 10th grade, and like learning about it in history class and reading about it are obviously very impactful and give you a good sense. Being able to be in the same room as someone that have lived through these atrocities and actually experienced it firsthand gives you a whole new like perspective, and just really kind of, I guess, inspires people to be like, wow, we need to make a change in society.
Another extremely like integral part of what Miss Marian Lazan relays in her speeches is that nobody can continue to turn a blind eye. Everybody has to stop and combat hate. So it was definitely like important for us, especially with our project and our goals, that people were able to understand that, yes, we are learning about this and we need to keep it in our minds, but we also need to continue and take the messages that we're learning in this assembly into our everyday life and realize that even though you're one person, your voice can be heard and it should be heard. And if you see something that is wrong, then you need to stand up for what you believe in, even if it's something that people may not agree with.
Yeah. So with this assembly, another incredibly generous thing that Rockville Center Schools did is they filmed her testimony for us. So they are now going to be integrating it into the 10th and 12th grade history curriculums. So students will now be able to relive her story for years to come. This will definitely make an impact on the high school student body. And it just gives a whole new level of context to Holocaust education, and just once again makes it a lot more real for people.
I think that overall this assembly was so successful and was so touching because traditionally when there's an assembly within our high school, there's people sleeping in the back and people that are trying to skip it. But with this one, everybody was extremely engaged and everybody went up to Marian after in a line to give her a hug. It was just great to see that everybody was extremely involved within this assembly, and people were wearing pins after and walking around. People were talking to me and Kate about how happy they were that we were able to bring this to our school. It was just great to see. Even faculty, we had to miss a couple periods of school, so we ended up emailing our history teacher, and he sent a very nice email back to us celebrating what we were doing.
Normally I've had him for 2 years. He's like maybe given me one compliment while having him, but just his reaction to this was very different. Yeah, this assembly could have done more than we could have ever imagined. You know, it was just great seeing our student body so engaged, because a lot of high schoolers are very just anti anything education based within our school. And people that normally never display any sense of emotion or kind of care about anything were staying behind to talk to Marian afterwards. And it really made more of an impact than we ever thought it would. And it shows that speaking up is always the right thing to do, even if it's not the popular choice. Sometimes you have to do that. And it's always worth it because we're preventing more hate and ignorance within our community. Thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you to two extraordinary young women who are standing up for what's right. We were blessed to have them. We had a Q&A about a month ago here, and just the things that they experienced and how they're standing up against what they're standing up against and how they're standing up for what's right. Incredibly impressive. And we weren't the only ones to think so, because I think you're going to be missing a few other parts of school when you go up to the state assembly. They're going to be recognized up in Albany on, what is it, May 12th, I believe. And also when they came to be honored at the breakfast, our Congresswoman came and presented them with congressional citations as well for the amazing work that they're doing. So I just wanted to thank you both again for all the incredible work that you're doing. Sandra. Now, Rabbi Cohen will say it.
Very well done, truly inspiring. So tonight we gather together in solemn and sacred remembrance, bearing witness to a chapter in history that we must never allow to fade into oblivion. Holocaust remembrance is not simply an act of recalling past events. It's a profound responsibility, a sacred commitment to those whose voices were silenced, whose lives were extinguished. It's our eternal promise that the atrocities suffered by our people shall never reoccur, and a dedication to vigilance in the face of hatred, bigotry, and intolerance. Yet as we remember, we must ask ourselves what deeper lessons the Holocaust imparts to us. Its lessons are stark and profound. Above all, it teaches us about the devastating consequences of disunity among our people and the vulnerability of a scattered nation without a sovereign homeland. The memories of the Holocaust compel us urgently towards unity and Zionism, the two indispensable pillars upon which the Jewish future rests securely. Unity is not merely an idealistic aspiration, it's the foundational element of our survival and strength. Our community is wonderfully diverse, a tapestry woven with various threads of tradition, opinions, and perspective. And this diversity is among our greatest strengths, offering us a richness of experience and a breadth of thought. Yet too often those differences fracture us, ideological, religious, and political. They threaten to tear us apart, our communal bonds, weakening us at times when we need strength the most. The Holocaust serves as a stark and tragic reminder of the dangers that arise when we lose sight of our shared destiny, allowing division and discord to weaken our collective resolve. When faced with rising anti-Semitism and threats to our safety around the globe, our divisions only serve to make us vulnerable. In the shadow of history's darkest moments, we must commit to healing these rifts, recognizing that what binds us together far outweighs what separates us and sets us apart. Our unity must be our shield, our source of strength and resilience. Yet unity alone is not sufficient. Alongside unity stands our Zionism, the enduring commitment to the Jewish homeland of Israel. Israel is more than a nation state. It is the embodiment of millennia of yearning, the realization of dreams long deferred. Zionism is not merely a political ideology, but a profound ethical and moral imperative, a commitment to ensuring that the Jewish people have a secure refuge and the ability to govern their own and our own destiny in our ancestral land. Israel's existence symbolizes our collective redemption and resilience, providing sanctuary and safety for Jews worldwide. Supporting Zionism means ensuring the survival and thriving of the Jewish people in our ancestral homeland, protecting our history, our culture, and our legacy. It means acknowledging that our security and our dignity as a people depend upon having a state that stands ready to defend us and preserve our existence in an often hostile world. Holocaust remembrance, therefore, calls upon each of us not only to honor the past, but also to actively shape our future. It demands that we dedicate ourselves anew to safeguarding the state of Israel and to fostering unity within our community. It challenges us to overcome internal strife and recognizes the shared heritage, our shared memory, and our shared destiny that unites every Jew around the world. As we mark this solemn occasion, let us resolve to reaffirm our commitment to these essential ideals. Let us stand shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, in defense of Israel in the pursuit of communal harmony and solidarity. May our efforts to foster unity and support Zionism serve as a living testament to those who perished in the Holocaust. May we carry their memory forward, not merely as remembrance of tragedy, but as a beacon guiding our actions and commitments today and always. In doing so, let our unity honor the memory of the victims and survivors of the Holocaust. And let our unwavering commitment to Zionism secure a prosperous and safe future for our children and generations to come. Thank you.
I also want to echo that, Lauren and Kate, I'm so moved by the work that you're doing and the way that you are making your voices heard. I think in times like these, the more, always, the more one knows about the Holocaust, the more one is moved to silence and quiet, because it's just too overwhelming. To think about what it was. It's impossible to think about, but we also live in a world, especially right now, where people who are ignorant are speaking very loudly, and it's up to us as agents of people, agents of knowledge and wisdom and shared history and roots, to find the words, to not be silent, however impossible it may be. And so this song came to mind. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. No one dare disturb the sound of silence. Fool, said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words like silent raindrops fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sound of silence.
We have 6 people who will come up to light candles, each candle in memory of the 6 million that we lost, and also the ones we continue to lose today. For the first candle, Judy Schneider. We light this first candle in memory of the more than 1,200 innocent men, women, and children murdered on October 7th of 2023. They were in their homes, at a music festival, in kibbutzim, and in nearby cities. They were targeted simply because they were Jews living in the land of Israel. May their memory be a flame that pierces the darkness of terror with the light of resilience. Helene, would you come up? The second candle is in memory of the Jews who died in the concentration camps. We light this candle for the millions who perished in the ghettos and the extermination camps in Auschwitz, Treblinka, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, and just too many more to mention. Stripped of name, of dignity, and of life itself, they were herded like cattle, worked like beasts, and slaughtered like animals who were treated as enemies. Yet in their final moments, they whispered prayers. May they be at peace now. We remember them and we carry their stories. Gary Glick, he is a commander of the Jewish war veterans. This third candle is in memory of the Jews who were killed as resistors. We light this candle for the fighters. These were the partisans in the forests, the rebels in the ghetto, the saboteurs who worked in the dark, and the spies. They knew they might not survive, much like the Warsaw Ghetto fighters, but still they rose up. They fought not just for life, but for dignity, for justice, and for the soul of our people. Their courage still burns within us. Michael Schenker, please come up. This candle is in memory of the Jews who died on the death marches. We light this candle for those who were forced to walk. Some were starving, most were freezing. Many were shoeless and sick, and they marched toward death. They collapsed in the snow and the mud on their way. They were shot for slowing down, and their bodies were abandoned in ditches by the roadside. They had survived the camps, but liberation came too late. May their long march end in our remembrance of them. Mark Reinhardt. This candle will be in memory of the children who were murdered in the Holocaust. We light this candle for the 1.5 million Jewish children whose lives were stolen before they had truly begun. They never learned to read. They never learned to dance or even participate in the joyous celebration of their bar or bat mitzvahs. Their laughter was silenced, but we will not be silent. We remember their songs, even if we have never heard them. This last candle is in memory of the soldiers of the IDF who have fallen defending the Jewish homeland. We light this final candle for the brave souls of the Israel Defense Forces, men and women, young and old, who laid down their lives to defend the state of Israel and the Jewish people. From the earliest days of independence to the war that we face today, they stood between us and destruction. Their sacrifice reminds us, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live, and they help us to live in safety. And we must never forget their devotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. We are honored to have as our keynote speaker, Bill Tinglin. I refer to him as Brother Bill, which I had to recently modify as he was granted an honorary university PhD. So now it's Brother Dr. Bill. To mention all of Bill's accomplishments and honors would actually put you into deep REM sleep. So here's a brief intro. 35 years ago, Bill met Samuel Steigman. Sam was the youngest known Holocaust survivor, having been rescued from certain death at the age of 1.5. Bill's heart and soul was so impacted by Samuel that Holocaust education, fighting anti-Semitism, and supporting Israel became one of Bill's most important priorities. Bill serves on the boards of 2 Israel hospitals. In 1993, he founded School News Nationwide, revolutionizing education by integrating technology, journalism, and media. In 2005, he launched Words of Bonds, which bridges African American and Jewish communities through interviews with Holocaust survivors and Black elders, fostering dialogue, unity, and historical awareness. Bill's groundbreaking Tour for Tolerance, teaching Holocaust education, turns school buses into high-tech mobile teaching platforms, reaching over 70,000 students annually. Bill collaborates with the UN, Moses West Foundation, and the German Federal Police on sustainability, ethical education, and anti-extremism programs. His work has had a lasting global impact and spans Israel, Ethiopia, Italy, France, Ukraine, Poland, Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Germany, the Philippines, England, Jamaica, and South Africa. He has a lot of frequent flyer miles. Bill's groundbreaking book, one of humanity's darkest hours, The Untold Story of the Holocaust, combines QR codes linking to survivor video testimonies and interactive AI survivor interviews to ensure history is never forgotten. It is not just another Holocaust book, it's a living textbook. You can find it on billtinglin.com. It is indeed my honor to introduce a visionary hoping to create a better world, Brother Dr. Bill Tinglin.
Thank you, Brother Herb. I am indeed most honored to be in your presence. So, good evening, distinguished guests, Jewish community of Rockville Center, members, educators, students, community leaders, clergy, public officials, and friends, brothers and sisters in purpose and shared humanity. I greet my colleagues, Southside School students, Lauren Ferazani and Kate Gupta. Tonight I stand before you not merely as an author, but as a vessel that carries stories to sacred individuals and voices too brave to remain unheard. I come to you as a custodian of memory and witnesses to humanity's darkest capacities and the brightest sparks of resilience and hope. This gathering tonight is more than a lecture or presentation. It is an invocation, a sacred summoning of conscience and commitment. This evening is about remembrance, but more than that, is about resistance to hatred, silence, and the forces that continue to divide and dehumanize. For over 30 years, I've been entrusted with stories from Holocaust survivors, harrowing, heartbreaking, and utterly human. These were not statistics. These men and women whispered truth in my ear, not because I demanded answers, but because I listened with reverence. Survivors like Sally Frischberg, Sammy Steigman, Inger Achenbacher, and my beloved friend and mentor, Samuel Bykoff. Their voices echoed not just in my heart, but through every word in the book I bring to you tonight. One of humanity's darkest hours, the untold story of the Holocaust. It's a curriculum in a book. It is not merely a book. It is a bridge between the past, the present, between tragedy and testimonies, between silence and courage. It is a curriculum with a conscience embedded with QR codes, interactive technology, and chatbot tools to make history not only accessible, but alive. We walk through ghettos, we enter the shadows of camps, we listen to the voices from the gas chambers and the gallows. And in those voices, we hear something more potent than despair, defiance. We hear humanity clawing its way through history's darkness and history's darkest corridors, declaring, "You may take my life, but you will not erase my name." You may have heard about Auschwitz, where 1.1 million people were slaughtered. You may have heard about Treblinka, where 900,000 were murdered. You may have heard about Balzac and Sobibor. But have you heard of the forgotten killing fields of Transnistria? Have you heard of that? Bakhtanovka, Babi Yar in the Ukraine. You hear everything about everyone else, but not about Bakhtanovka, Babi Yar. Well, in Babi Yar, more than 37,000 Jews were massacred in less than 2 days. In Bakhtanovka, Ukraine, over 54,600 Jews were slaughtered in less than 14 days. It was there that Samuel Bykoff, a child barely 2 years old, was carried through the snow soaked in blood. His mother refused to let him die where so many fell. He lived. He bore witness. And decades later, Samuel, my mentor, walked with me on that sacred ground where 29 members of his families were murdered. We stood together, two sons of survival from different genocide, linked by a shared cry, never again. So I must say this clearly, never again is not a Jewish cry alone. It is a human cry. And tonight I ask every heart in this room, do you hear it? Will you answer it? People from all avenues of life ask, Mr. Bill, yes, why do you, a Black man, dedicate so much of your life to telling the story of the Holocaust? And my answers, it remains the same all the time, because they have seen what happened when the world remains silent. I know the stench of injustice. I know the pain of having your humanity reduced to a threat. When I study the ghettos of Warsaw, I see the ghettos of Detroit and Harlem and in Chicago. When I read about the yellow stars, I remember the red lining and the Jim Crow. When I see the cattle cars, I remember the slave ships. Our pain may wear different uniforms, but the cry is the same. And now, allow me to speak from my soul, my heart, with unshakable moral conviction. On October 7th, 2023, The state of Israel was attacked by Hamas. Terrorists stormed peaceful kibbutzim, raped the women, beheaded men, set homes ablaze, and slaughtered innocent Jewish lives, babies in their cribs, elders in wheelchair, children at play. They did not attack the soldiers. They attacked the soul of the people. And I ask you tonight, what do you do when evil crosses your threshold and it sets your house on fire? Well, you extinguish it. You rise, you defend, because justice without defense is not justice. It is surrender. Israel has not just the right, but the duty to defend its citizens, to uproot the evil that threatens her existence. So to say, not in revenge, but in a moral clarity, you will not murder our people and go unchallenged. And yet, some in the world are confused. Some point out fingers at Israel for daring to fight back. But I ask those people, where were you? Where were you? And where were your tears when the babies were butchered? Where were you? And where were your voices when older people were burned alive? Silence in the face of terrorism is complicity. If your daughter were kidnapped, would you not go to the ends of the earth to bring her home? If your synagogue were bombed, would you not demand justice? You must not moralize genocide. You must not negotiate with hatred. And you must not ask those who bleed to apologize for defending their right to exist. Let it be said here tonight, the defense of Israel is the defense of civilization. Because when a nation rises to protect its innocence, it affirms a sacred truth that life is worth fighting for. This book, this movement, this message is not just about the past. It's about the battle for truth happening right now. And the battlefield is not only Gaza or Jerusalem. The battlefield is TikTok. It is the university lecture hall. It is the dining table's conversation. It is the silence we allow when someone makes an anti-Semitic joke and we do not correct them. We're fighting an invisible war against apathy, distortion, and denial. We must fight it with education, empathy, and unwavering resolve. Let me be even more personal. When I stood at that blood-soaked ground in Bakhtanovka, where the 54,600 Jews were massacred in Ukraine, I did not just see only Jewish graves. I saw the graves of the unborn children in Rwanda, the silenced women of Darfur, the chained souls of the Middle Passage. I saw what happens when hatred is allowed to fester, when propaganda normalizes, when the good people remain silent. So yes, I'm a Black man who teaches about the Holocaust, who fight for the services of Holocaust survivors, and advocate for Holocaust education. Yes, because oppression anywhere threatens liberty everywhere. Because the pain of the Jewish people is not an isolated story. It is a warning, and we ignore it at our peril. Let us not allow history to repair or to repeat itself, not because it must, but because we allow it. Let us rise as guardians of memory, as the young Southside students, Lauren, Ferazani and Kate Gupta. Let us be fierce in our compassion. Let us teach until ignorance has no sanctuary. Let us love so loudly that hate is drowned out forever. And when they ask what we did in the face of rising hate, we will say, we remembered, we resisted, we rose. So to my fellow educators and leaders, students, freedom fighters, let this book be your weapon. Let it be your armor, let it be your song. Never again, never again. It's not just a phrase. It is a charge. It is a torch. And it must be carried not by the few, but by all. So thank you. May God bless the survivors. May he comfort the mourners. May he strengthen the defenders of justice. And may each of us tonight leave this place inspired and ignited with courage, with commitment, with compassion. Rise with me. Stand with Israel. Stand with truth. And above all, stand with humanity. Tonight and never forget, never again. Thank you. Let me acknowledge my good friend. He's here with me tonight, Dr. David Mellish. We work together. May I have him say a few words? Dr. David? Dr. David is the, well, he'll tell you. Over here, David.
Well, first of all, I think another round of applause, Bill, for what you've just. There are a lot of thoughts going through my mind at this moment. If I'd known I was going to speak, Bill, when I called you coming in from the city, I said, I'm casually dressed, and Bill said, would you like to say a few words? So I'm honored to be up at this dais. And Rabbi Lerner, thank you and the congregation, B'nai Shalom, that's David. So I'm actually a local boy. I grew up in West Hempstead. I went to, was bar mitzvahed October of 1967 at West Hempstead Jewish Community Center. Went to Cornwall Avenue grade school, West Hempstead Junior High School. Then we moved to the 5 towns. Grew up in Lawrence, went to Lawrence High School. Both my parents were Holocaust survivors. My mother is still alive. She'll be 95 in December. And she's quite remarkable woman, Lucia Rosenzweig Milch. So growing up in that environment, my brother and myself, the Holocaust was something in our family that we were very aware of. In some Holocaust families, second generation to third generation, they don't discuss this. Susan, I believe you've done quite a bit of work. And having met some of the members here, Michael and Gary and Fran and Herb, I know that there's a range of experiences within individual families and this community of what the Holocaust means. And as I was listening to the ceremony, and I must say, Sounds of Silence, the beautiful rendition, I remember the first time I heard the Sounds of Silence in 6th grade at Cornwall Avenue School, Simon and Garfunkel. And the 60s were such an interesting time. I'm not going to dwell too much, but if you remember in February of 64, the Beatles landed, right? I think a lot of us here are old enough to remember that. It was such a different time, the 60s, growing up in that period. And as a child of 2 Holocaust survivors, to come out of those pits, and Dad was trained as as a mechanic and built a successful business. Mom became an educator. She taught languages at Hewlett High School. Education was what it was all about for the children of Jewish background, certainly learning, and of my parents' Holocaust background. So I graduated early. They'd skipped grades. I went on to Amherst College for 2 years, went on to Stanford and studied biochemistry, went on to Harvard Medical School, started a company in life sciences, and became quite successful in the life sciences industry. I tell you that not to get any accolades here, but because of that success, was able to start a family foundation about 20 years ago. And we do youth mentoring and we do arts for social impact, and a lot of it has to do with Jewish themes. And we have an exhibition, which is how, Bill, you and I were connected. It seems like much longer than 2 months ago. We were connected by Ambassador Ido Aharoni, the former Consul General of Israel to the United States, a dear friend, who was giving a talk at Touro University, the largest Jewish university outside of Israel. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. I'd heard of Touro. But Touro University is the largest Jewish university. It's growing significantly. It graduates more people in the healthcare field, my field, MDs, osteopaths, nurses, than any other complex in the United States except for Anderson in Texas. It's amazing. And Ido was giving an inaugural talk and had invited people and pointed some people in the audience. And there's Dr. David Milch, and there's my dear friend, Bill Tinglin. He said, David and Bill, you two really should talk to one another. And we did that evening. And Bill had this book, this amazing book. I mean, you have to understand that you don't do a book like this by accident. You don't sit down over a weekend and, maybe with AI or some of these new tools, you can make a little faster progress. But this is not just a labor of love. This is a labor of intense dedication to understand, as the title says, one of humanity's darkest hours, which I learned about growing up. And listening to the two of you, Lauren and Kate, and I would assume, I could be wrong, Ferazani and Gupta, I would assume that you're not Jewish. Which, of course, is part of what we're here, I believe, to at least be thinking about. And the work that you're doing as a Black man, Bill, and what this book is doing, and the 10-part series that we're starting to work on. Because you've connected the Blitzkrieg, which we've all heard about, the 18-month conquest of Western Europe, with the onslaught of the Holocaust, the speed of the Blitzkrieg. It always amazed me. How could so much happen in such a short period of time? My mother became an orphan. She was born in 1930 and became an orphan in 41 when the Germans invaded Operation Barbarossa after the Molotov and Ribbentrop Pact was abrogated. And everything was overrun. My mother's family, over 100 members, was wiped out. Dad grew up 20 kilometers away. He survived with 2 brothers and a sister. And then Mom was going to go to Israel at the last minute. Family in Lawrence found out about her, and she ended up in Rockville, in Far Rockaway, and Neil and David were born. The kind of work that you're doing, Bill, the kind of attention you're paying to how we understand to have more Laurens and more Kates, to understand that the youth must embrace the fairness, the truth, as the rabbi said, of what happened, and not lose hope because there's so much damage that's out there, and this insidious rise of anti-Semitism can be combated through education by not being apologetic for the success of the Jews in Israel or in the diaspora, but recognizing, and this is my last comment, we're still only 0.2% of the world's population. 99.8% of the world is not Jewish. In this country, 2.5%. Our success, well-earned, hard-earned success,
whatever number, 10x, 100x to our numbers, inevitably that breeds a sense of envy, jealousy. We don't have to make excuses to anyone, but we need to understand the deep psychological, psycho-emotional bases of that. And what you're doing, and what we're doing with our exhibition and our education program, our program is in Jacksonville, Florida now. We expected to have maybe 500 or 600 students come through our exhibition and museum. Over 3,000 students came through in a 5-month period. Over 60% happen to be Black. Jacksonville, Florida is a large African-American community. And because of the overwhelming response in a city of 1.2 million people with only 30,000 Jews, we've been extended to the end of 2025 to go deeper into the education system, as well as here in New York City, and maybe with your help, we'll reach out to Long Island. And the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, who happens to be married to a Jewish woman, Tammy Murphy, has now opened the door for our education program to go into the school systems in New Jersey with Keene University and the Holocaust Resource Center. So my point being, there is hope that these terrible things that we feel and see around us, the work that you're doing, Bill, the type of work that this community is doing, what we're trying to do, is a vote of confidence that there is light underneath the clouds. I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Thank you, Herb.
Thank you. It wasn't too long ago that we all gathered together at a table for a Seder and sang the words of this next song. In just about every holiday or moments of our life cycles, we have a piece of brokenness. We break the middle matzah, and even at weddings, we break a piece of glass. But tonight, we echo the words that say, in every generation, they tried to destroy us, but we will not be defeated. Vehi she'am lavotenu, vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu, shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu lechalotenu, amad aleinu lechalotenu. Vehi she'amda lavotenu, vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu, shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu lechalotenu, amad aleinu lechalotenu. Kadosh Baruch Hu, Matzilenu, mi-adam, v'hakadosh Baruch Hu, Matzilenu, mi-adam. Lai, 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 la, la, lai, ya, la, lai, lai, ya, la, lai, la, 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 lai, ya, lai, 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 la, la, lai, ya, la, lai, lai, ya, la, lai, la, la, lai, lai, ya, la, lai, la, 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 lai, ya, lai, lai. Yai, lai, la, la, la. Vehi she'amda lavotenu, vehi she'amda lavotenu velanu, shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu lechalotenu,
Amar aleinu lechalotenu. Ve'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu. Matzilenu. Miyadam. Ve'akadosh Baruch Hu matzilenu. Matzilenu. Miyadam.
As you can see, this Yom HaShoah commemoration is a bit different than many commemorations in the past. Commemorations usually focus on the loss, the depth to which humanity could sink to, if not checked. Usually, it's very somber, but tonight, find a call to action. Not only to inspire us to action, but to recognize those who have been acting. Hey, Lauren. Bill. Elected officials here at Rockville Center. We don't forget all the support that we've had over the past few years. Mayor Fran Murray wished he could be here tonight, but he's in Albany, in village business. But here with us is our Deputy Mayor, Kathy Baxley, village trustees, Kitty Conlon, Emilio Grillo. We have to stand together. We have to act. We have to take the inspiration that we see around us of people who are standing and acting and understand that we have to cast our bread into the water as well. We all have strengths. Let's use them to fight for what's right. We have to use the Shoah, the Holocaust, as a warning of what happens when we don't. Too many people were silent. How do we get to a point? Bill mentioned 4,600 people can just be massacred. Many by local population. Talk about the Nazis. There were villages that were murdered by civilians. How do we get to that point? How does humanity get there? You could take someone's life, look at someone as not as subhuman, no traces of human dignity at all. How do we get to that point? My grandfather escaped before the war, lived in Poland, a small village southeast of Lvov, Poland. He got out. He was able, it's a long story, but in a nutshell, he was able to get visa for his family, my family. His father, who I'm named after, his brother, who was in yeshiva. And they said, no, it's okay. We'll be okay. We've gone through this before as a people. As the cantor so beautifully sang, the whole door by door, in every generation, someone comes up to try and wipe us out. But God saves us. Matzilenu mi'adam, saves us from their hands. Every generation will be okay. They weren't okay. My grandfather's brother, Sol Yeshiva, in Lithuania, weren't murdered by the Nazis. They were murdered by Lithuanians. My grandfather, in a small town, it wasn't big enough, the town wasn't big enough to have the Nazis, the army, even bother coming in and occupying forming a ghetto or sending to concentration camps. No, they had the group, the Einstein's group, which was these shock troopers that would just go into the small villages of Jews, liquidating. They're murdered, mass graves somewhere. We don't know. They were in the mead industry, small village, and they made mead, honey wine. Still have the recipe, it's in Yiddish. But they did what they could to get by, just like everyone else. One day, shock troopers come in, murder an entire family, murder an entire village. Didn't have a chance. Countless stories like this. Warsaw Ghetto. Warsaw was a big town. Warsaw the Jews into a ghetto. As I mentioned earlier, Yom HaShoah, the day, falls on the Hebrew calendar. That's why Yom HaShoah is different every year on the secular calendar. But it commemorates the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto, 1943. Because the Nazis came for the final liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto. The young Jews weren't having it. Most of them barely out of adolescence. Think, what would we do now? What would we do now? This group of Jews, these kids, decided they wouldn't go like sheep to the slaughter. They were armed with only a handful of weapons that were smuggled in, had homemade explosives. They had a deep belief in their own dignity. They rose up. Mordechai Anielewicz, 24-year-old leader of what they called the Jewish Fighting Organization. He wrote a letter that was found, his final letter. And in it, he wrote, "The dream of my life has become true. Jewish self-defense has become a fact. I'm happy to have been one of the people who stood up." They fought for nearly a month. They knew they would not win, but they rose up because they believed that even in the face of annihilation, a Jew, a human being, must never surrender their humanity. Must never surrender our voice or our story. And now we're only 81 years later. 81 years, that's it. But we hear their voices still calling to us. Their voices ask us, what are we doing with the freedom that they died without? What are we doing with the truth that they were denied? Today, as we've heard, memory of the Holocaust, maybe Yom HaShoah in the past, this was a sacred responsibility to mark, honor those who were killed. Now, it's got to be a frontline defense. Because anti-Semitism is no longer hiding. It marches openly through our streets. Let's not turn a blind eye to that, but speak bluntly. It posts brazenly across social media. It masquerades as anti-Zionism. It tries to strip the Jewish people of the right that every other nation is granted, the right to self-determination, to self-defense, the right to a homeland, the right to live in peace. On October 7th, we learned that hatred of Jews can still turn into slaughter. That never again is not a guarantee. It's a choice that we must make. B'chol dor vador, every generation. And so tonight we declare we will not be silent. We will not allow Holocaust memory to fade into history. We will teach. We will advocate. We will confront lies with truth. Because the Torah teaches, Lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. Do not stand idly by when unjustified violence is directed toward your brothers and sisters. And we are all brothers and sisters. We are all brothers and sisters. Let that be our moral North Star. Let's be clear. We do not fight hatred with hatred. We fight it with education. We fight it with moral courage. With the allies who dare to speak out when it would be easier to remain silent. We remember, as they do in Yad Vashem, Holocaust Museum complex in Israel. They have a whole section to remember they called righteous Gentiles, Chasdei Umot Ha'olam, who risked everything to save Jews. People like Raoul Wallenberg and Irina Sendler. They remind us that in every dark time, there are still those who choose light. We need those allies today. We need neighbors, teachers, clergy, students, political leaders, not just to like our posts, but to stand with us, to speak against anti-Semitism, whether it comes from the right or the left, to call it out, whether it comes in swastikas or in slogans. We've all heard the slogans. We must remember that neutrality and equivocation helps the oppressor, never the oppressed. Elie Wiesel said it best. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. Today, we reject indifference. We remember the names. We honor the stories. We recommit ourselves to the fight. We have so many who are fighting. Let's join them. Not just for memory, but for justice, for truth, and for the dignity of the Jewish people, for the dignity of humanity. We will get through this time. We always persevere. Matzilenu mi'adam, b'chol dor v'dor. Every generation, we're saved by God's hand. But let us hear all the voices coming from those who died. Al Kiddush Hashem, during the Shoah, chanting loudly from the heavens, Am Yisrael Chai. The nation of Israel lives on. We always will. Thank you all. Thank you all deeply. All of you who stand with us. You stand for truth. We love you. Thank you. It's taught in the Torah that we have a choice in front of us. Behold, there's a land in front of you, right here. And it provides either blessing or curse. It's up to you to choose which one. You are empowered to choose which one. It's been too long where we've lived in a land of blessing. We've counted our blessings. We've enjoyed our blessings. But right now we have to choose blessing. Now it's on us. Because if we're not vigilant, it slowly turns, God forbid, to a curse. We don't want to see that. It says in the Torah, there could be a time when the heavens turn to iron and the land turns to copper. Things are cold. We have a choice. Let's not get there. Let's stand together. Let's fight against the forces that turn the heavens to steel, heavens to iron. Let's raise our voices, raise our hands, cast our bread unto the water, give of ourselves, of our talents, of the skills that we possess, to fight the most important fight we've ever confronted in our lives. Fight for justice, the fight for truth, fight for humanity, the fight for a good world, for our children, for our grandchildren. Let's all stand together. The blessing to see everyone here. Let's continue to stand together. Let's collaborate together. Let's fight together. Let's come together. Let's not be fractured. Let's come together in unity. and in strength and in truth. Thank you all for coming tonight. May the memory of all of those perished in the Shoah be a blessing and an inspiration to us to keep on good fight. Good night.